Hi everyone, it's Louise from Louloupurple. Today's video is all about mixed media Halloween projects. So my first project is my mixed media Halloween bottles, which I've upcycled, and I'm just using some old book page text and I'm just ripping these into smaller pieces. So next I'm going to use my Builder's PVA glue, which I picked up from the hardware shop. You just have to water it down. It's a lot cheaper because you can buy it in big litre bottles. So I'm just using my PVA glue with a paintbrush and sticking down all the book text onto the bottles. So this is the bottle once the glue had all dried, and the other bottle you can see is one that was left over from one of my workshops. And I'm going to use my Winsor & Newton white gesso primer. This is nearly empty, so I move on to my Peebo gesso. Once the gesso had all dried, I then used my spiced marmalade distress paint and I gave the bottles 2 coatings of this paint. I'll just show you a little bit and then I'll skip to the end. Next, I printed off an image of a pumpkin face and I stuck some acetate over the top of this image. I then cut out the eyes, nose and mouth and I created my own stencil. I then put the stencil over my bottle and taped it down with some repositional tape. I then use my archival jet black ink pad and my blending tool, and I use the blending tool to go over the stencil to create the face. I go over the face again with a second layer of black archival ink. And then I remove the stencil to reveal the face. I made 2 more of these bottles and I will show you some of the photos at the end of the video, but I will now jump to my next project. So for my next project I have cut out lots of circles from the card using my grand caliber, and I'm using the same stencil with my archival ink to ink the face onto these circles. These circles are going to be going into my window display. So as you can see, I've done both sides of the circle so that when they're in my window you will see the image on both sides, and I'm doing the same on some white cardstock as well. Next I have used my Cricut machine to cut out some bat shapes for my circles. I am now using my Uniball Signo silver pen just to add the details onto the bats. I then use my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue to stick the bats onto the circles. I then cut out some ghost shapes as well and stuck those onto circles as well. So as you can see here, these are my finished circles with the face, the ghost and the bats ready for my window display. So moving on to my next project, which is going to be a pumpkin head for my window display. I'm just using some orange card and I am roughly drawing a shape of an oval and I'm cutting this out. I will then repeat this on 2 other pieces of card. So I'm just going to draw around this one and then cut them out again. As you can see now, this was my second attempt at this pumpkin, but now that I've got the shape, I'm just gluing down the two pieces together to form the bottom part of my pumpkin. I'm now going to use my Spiced Marmalade Distress ink and my blending tool to add some colour onto the bottom part of my pumpkin. I'm not too worried about the middle bit because this is going to be covered up with another piece of card. Next, I use my Fossilised Amber Distress ink to add a bit of shading to my pumpkin. I am now going to use my Vintage Photo Distress ink to add even more darkness to the shadows. So here I've just drawn a line on the back of the top piece so that I know where to position it properly, and I've skipped to where I've done both sides of the bottom part of the pumpkin, and I'm just doing the top part of the pumpkin now. So using the same image that I downloaded from the computer earlier for my bottles, I've enlarged it slightly, and I'm just going to cut out all the elements and use my Graph Master pen to make the black even blacker. I am now going around the outside edge, covering up all the white bits. I kept my cutout bit so that I could use it as a template for where the eyes, nose and the mouth will be positioned. I then use my Distress Glaze over my pumpkin. Now I'm using the Distress Glaze as this pumpkin is going to go into my window display. So the Distress Glaze helps to stop the Distress ink from fading so quickly in the window. So you just rub it on and then buff it off with a bit of kitchen towel. So moving on to where I've done all three pieces, I then use my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue to stick the top part onto the back piece. I then stick the eyes, the nose and the mouth onto my pumpkin. Next, I have just drawn a pumpkin stem, and I'm using my Graph Master pens and my Distress ink peeled paint just to give the stem a bit of colour. So that bit was the back and this is the front, and I'm using my peeled paint just to go around the outside edge of the stem. I then use my Derwent Coloursoft pencils to add some detail onto the stem. I then stick the stem to the pumpkin head using my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue, and this is the pumpkin head all finished. So moving on to the next project, I have done a little cross stitch pumpkin, and I am just going to cut out the excess material around this pumpkin. Now I did want to make it into a card, but it didn't really work, so it's literally just a window display item. So I'm just using my Layer Perfect tool to measure out a piece of card for my cross stitch. So I'm using my double-sided tape on the material so that I can stick the card around the border of my cross stitch to make a frame out of the card. I then use a second piece of card to cover the back part of the cross stitch. So moving on, I'm going to use my spiral flower die to cut out some black paper to make lots of flowers for my cross stitch. So to make the flower, you just start from the outside edge and just roll the paper until you come to the middle part of the flower. I then use my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue on the base of the flower and just tease the flower out and hold it in position until the glue takes. Once the glue has completely dried, I then use my bone folder and just use it gently to go around the petals to give them a bit of definition and shape. So moving on to where I have made all my flowers, I then use my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue to stick them all down. And that is this piece all finished once the glue has dried. I am now going to go outside and show you my window display with all the pieces in place. So as you can see, there's my craft supply banner, which I made in a previous video, with all my circle faces, my pumpkin bottles, more pumpkin faces, my pumpkin head. This is one of my ghost free motion embroidery, which I will show you later. All my circles in the window hanging down, as you can see. And if I move round to the other side, there are all my circle faces. Scrolling down, there's my pumpkin cross stitch, some pumpkin heads that I made quite a few years ago, I think, out of paper mache, and all my circle decorations hanging down the window as well. So here's just a side view looking in. Not good because you can see all the wiring, but there you go. And the other side. So now I'm going to show you my free motion embroidery ghosts. These are available on my website, but there are only 4 of them. I will leave a link in the description box below if you would like to purchase one. I have also made a cross-stitch wall hanging with a witch, some pumpkins and an owl. This is also available on my website, but this is a one-off piece. If you would like to purchase one of my free motion ghost embroideries or my cross stitch, I will leave a link in the description below. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Links to my website, Facebook and more will be in the description below. Thanks again for watching and I hope you got inspired.